On today's episode, we're going to dig into leadership from all different levels of an organization. You don't need a title or a position to be a leader and have impact.
At InitiativeOne, we're igniting a leadership revolution by helping organizations eliminate the drama, improve decision-making, and win as a team. Join Dr. Fred Johnson on the Leadership Initiative podcast as we uncover insights to maximize your impact and transform your life.
Welcome back to the Leadership Initiative podcast. On today's episode, we have the great honor of having Gina Marchionda with us. Gina is an educator in the Fond du Lac School District, and what you're going to hear from Gina is all about leadership at a different level of an organization that people don't always relate to leadership at. Gina, welcome, and thank you for taking the time being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Can you share a little bit of your journey of how you got to where you're at?
Yeah, well, I was a teacher for 30 years, and I've had many roles. I've taught at Marian University. I've taught graduate courses at Marian University. I've done a lot of clubs and things at the elementary level, but I was really inspired to start my journey as an instructional technology coach because I felt like I had a lot to share with people. And I love elevating equity. And in the ed tech world, we sometimes call it tequity. And I really wanted to make a bigger difference to help others make learning more accessible for others and kind of leverage technology so that we could support all learners.
So I think that's one aspect of what you do. The other aspect, which I see and I know all about, is your leadership that you provide in that school district. Oftentimes, you know, that's not my job, right? We hear that in organizations, whether it's in a school district where it's teachers or a company where it's people on the floor, whatever it would be, and saying, no, that's not my job, that's above my pay grade, whatever else it is. But you've stepped up in a lot of different ways, and not by position, but by your actions and by the person you are. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that I'm helping transform maybe our technology in the Fond du Lac School District is sometimes as educators, we forget that when we hire companies, they work for us. Teachers are often like, oh, I'll just do it. No, I can't ask. I can't be trouble. No, I'm not going to rock the boat. And I'm like, well, no, we paid for this product and they work for us. And so making sure that our teachers get the support that they need with the products that we pay for. Making sure that I listen to their feedback. And if they feel like they need something or that student needs aren't being met and we can't change outcomes with what we're doing, that I work with the teachers and the companies that we have to figure out how can we pivot and make tiny tweaks or try things that we haven't tried before because what we're doing isn't working.
What does the role of modeling play into your job?
A lot of the modeling that I do is modeling kind of like the design theory or the design principle, or maybe beginning with the end in mind, and just modeling for people that when we try new things, it doesn't always work. And then what do you do? I pretty much model failing forward every day, all day. And that's just the nature of the department that I work in. When you work with technology, it's very rare that you have a day that everything works. I would say there's never a day that there isn't an issue that I need to work with other people to solve to make sure that student needs are met.
So failure is something we all deal with, right? And some of us deal with it better than others, and some of us grow from adversity. What's your advice to people on dealing with failure?
I would say instead of thinking about what's the worst that could happen, think about the best that could happen. So you already know what doesn't work. Think about how could you tweak that or try something different. I always model saying, if I don't know how to do it, I'm not afraid to go find somebody that will teach me. And I'm not afraid to reach out beyond our district, beyond our state. There's somebody out there that can help us, usually in professional learning communities that I belong to. like Google certified educators. There's always somebody out there that can help you solve the problem. So not getting so tied up in the issue, but thinking about what are the next steps I need to take to solve this issue.
Sure, your students that you've taught over the years have learned that from you as well. That's awesome.
Well, they inspire me. When I was teaching, I would love how, if I didn't know how to use a platform, I purposely would have them push the buttons first. So kids have this natural tenacity where they don't care if they push the wrong button. They just keep pushing them and they figure it out. So a lot of times I loved trying new ed tech platforms or new lessons because they often just were so carefree. They didn't care if they made a mistake. They would just try it again.
So you're talking a little bit about vulnerability, but and saying, well, I don't know, even to, I mean, that's difficult for an adult to say that to a group of students. I don't
Mhm.
know. I could use your help. How do you show vulnerability? How does that come about?
Well, I would literally say, I don't know the answer to that. And then if a child did know the answer, I let the child lead. So really empowering those around you and knowing that, well, I'll use my classroom, for example. We were called the Wolf Pack. And so if you think about the Jungle Book, the quote that I always used with them is the one from the movie where the strength of the pack is the wolf and the strength of the wolf is the pack. I'm not sure if I have that quite right. But we were a wolf pack and everybody was just as important. And I think when I'm leading, I try to I try to actually build my grown-up wolf pack, build the capacity of others. And so I would, when I was a teacher, I would build the capacity of my students so that they didn't have to rely on me. I would let kids lead and have a voice and a choice.
No, that's awesome. That's great advice. Great advice. Um, what was there any pivotal moments or what got you into leadership and thinking about leadership and the way you approach it? Was there some moment in your life that kind of shifted you or guided you along that path?
Yeah, I think I was really excited for us to have a 5-year technology plan. And I had begged for it for a long time. So when leadership would ask me what my feelings were, what did I want, what feedback did I have, I told them over and over again, and even Dr. Flagg really listened to me, that if our community is going to grow, we have to start investing in technology. We have to teach children in the decade they live in and prepare them for the decade they're going to live in the future. And I just became very passionate about wanting to not be an echo, but be a voice when it came to the vision for the Fond du Lac School District. And it really helped once we had Paul. Paul had a clear plan. And if you look behind me, I have my astronaut and my um, space shuttle. I'm so happy that I got picked and I have the pleasure and the honor to build um, the spacecraft. So Paul says we're going to go to the moon, and I said, I can't wait. I want to be a part of that plan and build that spacecraft to get this plan going.
It's awesome. Um, so in your experience in your leadership journey, what's been the most challenging part?
Um, I think the most challenging part is sometimes I'm a very creative soul and I can't even follow a recipe exactly. I always have to like add my own little flavor or change something. So the hardest part for me is navigating that tension between following curriculum to fidelity, but also that tension that comes when you're trying to be innovative. So trying to make innovation and following curriculum with fidelity to make sure that we all kids are getting like a consistent, reliable, equal, sustainable education. I kind of focus on how we can use technology to support the curriculum that we have without adding to a teacher's workload. Um, So I try to advocate for like flexible approaches that can benefit the variability of learners in a teacher's classroom while staying true to the curriculum.
Yeah, it's the science and the art piece of it, right? The science of teaching and learning and the art of it. And the there is a clash at times, and there's a fine line and there's a balance, and trying to get there is a difficult challenge. And in particular, when it comes to the use of technology, which you're leading in that aspect of education. So what are the keys to get people to use and understand? I mean, because if technology is not making learning more powerful, it's really not serving much of a purpose. So how do you get people to understand that component of the teaching and learning aspect?
I think I always start with the standard in mind. So a lot of times I will when I do a coaching cycle, I will sit down and tell me the pain points. Tell me what you want from me. How can I help you support your students? We talk about the pain points, but then we look at those pain points and we think about, you know what? Here are some solutions that I can provide for you while you're doing math workshop. I can support you doing workplaces. And this is how we can use technology to reach all of your kids. So showing them that there are solutions out there, but we always start with the standard and we always start with the curriculum that we have. So learning first, tech second. So we don't start with, oh, I really love using WeVideo, but they don't know what they want to use it for. You always look at what it is that you want kids to know, and then you find the tool for them to use that fits the child and the standard.
Shifting gears a little bit, when we talk about leadership and being a leader, and not necessarily in a strong known leadership position. You're not the superintendent, right? You're not. How do you have impact? We talk about leadership having impact, and I know you have impact. That I know. How do you do it? How do you do it from a position where it doesn't matter what position you're in, it's about who you are?
Well, I think I model vulnerability and I model taking feedback. So I'm starting to push out. This year, I've pushed out, I think, more Google Forms than I ever have to ask teachers what they need and what they want. So I also, when I go into a classroom, they'll see that I am not the expert at using a ViewSonic. I might forget how to use the model that they have in their particular classroom, and I own it. And I also take 100% responsibility for either finding somebody to help them, and I tell them if I can't. I'm very honest, or I'm very honest about, you know what, I need you to go talk to this person first. So I think I try to model a lot of vulnerability, but I also want them to see that I have confidence and I can be decisive when necessary. And that's pretty much it. I try to always remember that when I'm working with somebody and it gets a little tricky, I model that we are here to change outcomes.
So what's the impact of your leadership? What has been the impact in Fond du Lac of your leadership?
Well, it's only been a year, but I do feel that I'm helping to grow teachers and give them leadership roles as thoughtful leaders. I'm trying to grow the number of Seesaw ambassadors and Seesaw certified educators so that help is right in their building. They don't have to really rely on me and they can build their own capacity. I'm trying to, or one of my goals would be, is to help people fish for themselves. So a lot of things they ask me to do, they're there. We have the links, we have the micro learning. I think a big part of it is just helping people see that they help them understand that they can build their capacity.
You're clearly not an I person as a leader, and humility is an important part of leadership, which you demonstrate. So you said I've only been at it for a year. The reality is you've been at it for a long time. Regardless of position that you were in, you were demonstrating leadership throughout the organization, throughout the Fond du Lac School District. Talk a little bit about where that comes from. Where does the innate leadership and the desire to change people, where does that come from?
I'd have to say my intuition. So if I feel something's not right, I trust my gut. If and I speak up. I think I speak out and speak up more than I ever have, thanks to InitiativeOne. But I was never really afraid to be an advocate for the teachers that I mentored and the students that I taught. I just really have, all I do is really think about education, and making sure that I'm serving others. So that's kind of where it comes from. I can't really turn it off, but I've always cared a lot about teachers. And I'm so happy because the best part of my job is I get to take care of teachers, which means I get to take care of 6,500 students. And that brings me a lot of joy. I kind of feel like a florist when I go into a classroom, or grandma, because I can usually give them something, either how to do something or fix a problem they've had with, or make their teaching a little bit more efficient, and they get really happy. And I also feel a little bit like grandma because I get to go model and show fun tech things, and then I get to go to another classroom and do the fun thing. I don't really have to do the really hard parts.
I'm sure you do, but it's just your approach to looking at the work that you do. I know there's challenging parts, and I just love to hear you talk about doing that work. And Fond du Lac is so fortunate to have you. How important is trust in your working relationships and in the work that you do?
Trust is very important. And oftentimes, my department is very eclectic. So we have a lot of different roles in our department. We have technicians, we have assessment and data. And for me, it's really important that when I'm out in the field, I call it out in the wild, that I let people know that I trust my team and I help. I'd have to say I'm very good at making sure that people deliver the mail to the right person in my department.
And does that help build trust by delivering the mail?
It absolutely does. And not only does it build trust, but it makes us more efficient.
Awesome. So I have one more question for you. What advice do you have for somebody that's looking to step into a leadership position, or step into leadership, and not necessarily a position, but to start taking on a leadership role regardless of position?
Be curious. There are no limits. And know that, so like when I wake up every day, I think there's somebody else out there just like me that's thinking what I'm thinking, feeling what I'm feeling, and just fail forward. I'll be honest, I am very lucky to work here because I feel a little bit like a free-range chicken. I go out and I feel trusted, I feel valued, and I just go out and I make tons of mistakes in front of people. And that's okay. I think when people know that failing forward, as long as you are solutions-based and you know that failing forward actually adds to the value of your work because you know what not to do.
Wow. That just sums up why we need more of you in education. Absolutely. So
Thanks,
thank
Frank.
you for taking the time to be here. Thanks for sharing some of your wisdom with us. And thanks on behalf of people in Fond du Lac for everything you do for their students and their staff there as well. So thank you, Gina. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.